Upon waking up, Li Feng crossed over to devour the starry sky. After awakening his golden finger, he was able to pick up various attributes, talents, and techniques that had fallen from others. Pick up the talent of Luo Feng's Spirit Mindfulness Master. Picking up Heng's Domain Insights, picking up Chaos Monument Enlightenment. Pick up the Original Law talent. Li Feng went all the way up, controlling thousands of races in the universe, keywords of the novel. People devouring the starry sky. Me. Picking up attributes will make it stronger without pop-ups, and people will devour the starry sky. Me. Picking up attributes makes it stronger. Download the complete TXT collection, people are devouring the starry sky. Me. Picking up attributes makes it stronger. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Relying entirely on talent and effort. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Relying entirely on talent and effort. On June 11, 2056, in Hansha Kingdom, Jiang Nian Bay City, within the Extreme Martial Arts Hall in Ian District, Yangzhou City. In the vast martial arts training hall, two young people who are only 17 or 8 years old are currently engaged in a duel. However, the situation on site is showing a one-sided trend. However, for a minute, Luo Feng lay on the ground and looked at Li Feng's fist, which was close to his face. He smiled helplessly and said, "Feng, you won again." Li Feng pulled up Luo Feng, who was lying on the ground, and glanced with a smile, saying, "Luo Feng, your fist power has definitely reached the threshold of a quasi-warrior. You have made significant progress during this period." Luo Feng lowered his head and looked at his hands, saying, "Since I fainted during the college entrance examination, my strength has indeed increased significantly." However, looking up at Li Chen, who could easily defeat him, Luo Feng couldn't help but mutter, "No matter how fast it is, can it be as fast as you?" Before, our strength had always been between bourgeons. Luo Feng could not help but complain that Li Feng and he grew up together from childhood. Everyone lived in low-rent houses in Nan'an District, and even had a relationship with neighbors. When they were young, their strength was always on par. But in the past few months, I don't know what medicine Li Feng has taken. Not only did he successfully become a senior student at the Extreme Martial Arts School as early as 3 months ago. And according to the coach from the martial arts school, even now Li Feng is about to reach the threshold of becoming a quasi-warrior. A quasi-warrior. That has always been Luo Feng's dream, but the accomplice in front of him had to arrive one step ahead of him. Luo Feng punched Li Feng and his expression quickly became firm. "Don't worry, Feng, I will catch up soon." Looking at the still green-faced Lord Luo, Li Feng nodded confidently and said, "I believe you." However, Luo Feng looked at Li Feng in front of him with curiosity and asked, "Brother Feng, what method are you using? Why have you been so strong in the exhibition these past few months?" Li Feng grinned and just waved his hand, "The solution. There's no solution, it all depends on talent and hard work." "Say it." Looking in front of Luo Feng, there were colorful light clusters that only he could see. In a pile of white light clusters, there is a cluster of light with a hint of green. Li Feng's face remained calm on the surface, but his heart quickly murmured, "Pick it up." At the same time, in Li Feng's mind, the sound of the system immediately rang out. Obtain strength attribute, 5 kilograms, x3, obtain speed attribute, 0.5 m/s, x4, obtaining spiritual mindfulness master talent, peak of apprentice level 9, x1, that's right, Li Feng actually lied to Luo Feng. The reason why his strength has grown so rapidly in recent months is because he has been cheating. It has been 17 years since I traveled to this world that devours the starry sky. Although Li Feng knew that as long as he held on to Luo Feng's thigh tightly, no matter what, an eternal lifespan could not run in the future. However, Li Feng, who was familiar with the plot, was unwilling to continue with such peace of mind. He also wants to break his own ground in this magnificent world like Luo Feng. In this world, strength is the foundation. Without strength, one will eventually become an ant. But it has been proven that sometimes just working hard is useless. The gap in talent between people is often greater than the gap between people and dogs. Li Feng practiced day and night, even being called Li Madman in the extreme martial arts school. Strength has always been mediocre. Apart from sleeping, Li Feng is either observing the scriptures of ancient sages or practicing. However, in such a situation, it is only fitting to keep up with Luo Feng's footsteps. Even after entering high school, Luo Feng has already widened the gap. This is still in a situation whereby Luo Feng is working much harder, and this is just Luo Feng, who is still on Earth and has not started yet. Li Feng knew that after Luo Feng captured the Golden Horn Giant and even went through a series of experiences such as the Battle of Genius, the latter would truly soar to the sky. At the end, it reached a height that Li Feng could only look up to. I don't know how many midnight dreams Li Feng has been asking himself, is it worth working so hard? Under the watering of sweat and countless setbacks. The ambition in my heart gradually became vague and numb. Li Feng is still gritting his teeth and persevering, although he doesn't know if his persistence is meaningful. Then, 4 months ago, one day, Li Feng found his answer. Since hard work is useless, he can only ignore his martial arts ethics and just cheat. Li Feng's golden fingers can pick up various attributes, even talents and techniques that have been dropped from others. The stronger the opponent's strength and higher their talent, the better the attributes of the items dropped. However, during these few months, what Li Feng has picked up are all the lowest level white attributes. And now, even from Luo Feng, he has lost his talent as a spiritual master. Looking at the green light in the attribute space, Li Feng was so excited that he didn't know what to say. He clenched his fist and looked towards the boundless starry sky. From this day on, my journey is about to begin. Absorb. Ding. Power attribute, 5 kilograms, x3 absorbed, power plus 15 kilograms. Ding. Speed attribute, 0.5 m/s, x4 absorbed, speed plus 2 m/s. After absorbing the strength and speed attributes, Li Feng clearly felt a surge of force emerging in his body, wandering around his limbs and making his whole body feel like a warm stove, feeling warm and radiant. And the footsteps were noticeably lighter. Li Feng lowered his head, with a slight smile on the corner of his mouth. As for the talent of spiritual masters, Li Feng placed it in the attribute space and did not choose to absorb it temporarily. After all, he can be certain that he will not faint directly like Luo Feng in the original work. It's better to find an undisturbed place and gradually awaken to such things. On the side, looking at the uncontrollable smile at the corner of Li Feng's mouth, Luo Feng curiously asked, "Brother Feng, what's wrong with you? You're laughing so happily, picking up money." Li Feng just shook his head and looked at Luo Feng beside him, looking at the hint of desolation on his body. Where don't you know what Luo Feng is thinking? Just recently in the college entrance examination, Luo Feng fainted in the examination room and was unable to attend the military academy by a margin of several points. Moreover, the competition at this moment may have made Luo Feng feel a bit uncomfortable. Li Feng stepped forward and patted Luo Feng's shoulder, saying, "Feng Ge, the college entrance examination is not a big deal either. If it's a big deal, just follow me and follow the path of a martial artist. In this world, strength is always the fundamental factor. Now that you have reached the threshold of becoming a quasi-warrior, I'm looking at next month's quasi-warrior assessment. You can join me." After a sentence, Luo Feng was clearly stunned and said, "Follow the path of a warrior. Feng, are you giving up the opportunity to go to college?" After a moment, Luo Feng, who had realized, widened his eyes in disbelief and said, "Brother Feng, you were admitted to the best first military academy in Quanhanxiao. Will that be the case?" Li Feng smiled at the corner of his mouth, but shook his head and said, "Military academy. If you can follow the path of a warrior, it's nothing if you can't go to military academy. Besides, with our current strength, passing the quasi-martial arts assessment is just an easy task. It's nothing if we don't go to military academy. And on this side, before he could say anything, there was suddenly a light smile in the distance. Young man, your tone is quite impressive. Li Feng and Luo Feng turned their heads together and looked over here. One in white and the other in black, and in the blink of an eye, they had already arrived by their side. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Attribute Pickup, Luo Feng's Spiritual Mindfulness Master Talent. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Future and Hope, Waving to Me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Future and Hope, Waving to Me. Feng Ge, your strength is not far from intermediate warriors, is it? After watching Li Feng demonstrate his strength at this moment, Luo Feng shook his head and sighed with satisfaction. No wonder I'm not your opponent at all. The difference is really. Shaking his head, Luo Feng looked shocked. And Jiang Nian, equally excited, patted Li Feng's shoulder and said, good kid, good kid. With such strength, why didn't you tell me earlier? What are you hiding your strength for? If you don't participate in the assessment early and become a martial artist, you're planning to play the role of a pig and eat a tiger here. In Jiang Nian's view, Li Chen's age with such strength can definitely be considered a genius. Although there is someone stronger than Li Chen in other places. 16 at the age of 7, reaching intermediate warrior or even higher is not without it. However, those people either have outstanding family backgrounds and have undergone strict training since childhood. Those like Li Feng, who came from a poor background and still possess such talent, can be said to be rare. You should know that for extreme martial arts schoolmasters like him, if there were a genius like Li Feng under his command, he would also have many benefits. At least, the contribution value within the martial arts school must be indispensable. So, no wonder Jiang Nian is so excited. Li Feng shook his head and said with a smile, Officer Jiang, I used to have this level of strength. It was recently that I suddenly opened my mind, which is why my strength has rapidly improved. Jiang Nian gave Li Feng a white glance, obviously not believing what he said. After all, compared to Li Feng, he has increased his punching power by hundreds of kilograms in just over a month. He is more willing to believe that Li Feng is a young genius who is about to reach the intermediate warrior level at the age of 18 without practicing his genetic abilities. And here, Yen Luo also smiled and said, not bad, not bad. Jiang Gu, you found a treasure now, haven't you? 218-year-old junior warriors. Moreover, Li Feng's basic body method is solid. I can even see a hint of entering the micro level. Jiang Nian's gaze remained fixed on Li Feng and Luo Feng, both of whom smiled and said, Li Feng and Luo Feng, you two are only 18 years old this year. Did you take the college entrance examination recently? Regardless of your grades, with your strength, just focus on preparing for the martial arts practical assessment with peace of mind. On July 1st next month, you will go to the Extreme Guild Hall in Yangzhou City to participate in the quasi-martial arts assessment. With your strength, just go through the motions and you will definitely pass. Similarly, Yen Luo nodded and smiled, not bad. With your two talents, going to college is a waste of time. Now putting all your heart and soul into martial arts is definitely a promising future. Say it. Jiang Nian rubbed his hands and said, I can't wait to say that you too. Why don't I report to the headquarters of Jiangnan City in advance, especially Li Feng? Such talent can definitely be recruited in advance. I remember both of you now live in the Nanning community, right? As long as you can become martial artists, my extreme martial arts school will be in the best place, preparing a standalone villa for both of you, and there will be a generous monthly base salary. On the contrary, this side. Yen Luo waved his hand and said in a deep voice, what's Jiang in such a hurry for? These two young men haven't practiced their genetic abilities yet. It's not too late to make a decision after they finish practicing their genetic abilities. Maybe these two young men are still geniuses practicing genetic abilities. At that time, let alone early solicitation, there might even be a higher level of contract. Jiang Nian seemed to have remembered something and quickly nodded, yes. Yes. I'm actually in a hurry. Luo Feng, go back and prepare well first. On the other hand, Yen Luo looked at Luo Feng and Jiang Nian in front of him, pondered for a moment, and then said directly, Brother Jiang, I don't think you're as good as you are now. Just pass on the 5 hearts to heaven technique to these two boys. When I see the actual combat assessment of martial artists, I can also increase their strength by a few points. How about that? Jiang Nian frowned slightly, appearing somewhat embarrassed. However, these 5 hearts to heaven methods can only be provided by quasi-warriors. Neither of them has yet to participate in the quasi-warrior assessment, will it be too? Yen Luo gave a blank glance and said, Jiang, why are you so practical? The strength of these two young boys can be easily assessed by a mere quasi-warrior. Sooner or later, a gene-breaking original cultivation method will be used. Why are you digging and searching? Besides, genius, it's a bit privileged. What's wrong? But this. After all, it was the rules set by the curator and the thunder god at the beginning. Rules. Look at those people from those families, who abides by these broken rules. Both boys have the strength of martial artists, so they can't practice. Now, Jiang Nian nodded and said, okay. On this side, Luo Feng and Li Feng exchanged a glance of excitement. They also knew that Jiang Nian was only hesitant because of this, not because he was stingy and unwilling to show the two of them the gene original energy cultivation method. After all, today's human warriors on Earth only have the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method, which is a genetic original cultivation method. Naturally, the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method is also open to all human warriors. But this gene can only be used for cultivation, and the physical fitness does not reach the level of a quasi-martial artist for cultivation, which is fundamentally harmful and useless. If one's physical fitness is not up to standard, they cannot practice. So, for those below the level of quasi-warriors, the 5 hearts towards heaven technique is not provided. However, as Yen Luo said, with the current physical fitness of the two individuals, practicing the 5 hearts towards heaven method is more than enough. On this side, Jiang Nian quickly explained the benefits of practicing the gene original energy cultivation method and the existence of the guidance technique through the large screen of the martial arts training hall. And Yen Luo also laughed heartily and said, "Two kids, don't slack off. I believe both of you can become generals in the future. At that time, I would be happy to go out hunting monsters with you all." The two instructed Li Feng to practice well, and after some encouragement, he left the martial arts training hall. And here, Li Feng remained silent and picked up all the attributes they had left behind. As he watched the crowd leave, Li Feng's lips instantly showed an excited smile. Obtain strength attribute, 25 kilograms, x1, obtain strength attribute, 50 kilograms, x1, obtain speed attribute, 1m/s, x1, obtain speed attribute, 2m/s, x1, obtain the experience of the 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method multiplied by 2, absorb. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Am I really a genius? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Am I really a genius? Ding. Power attribute, 25 kilograms, x1, 50 kilograms, x1 absorbed, power plus 75 kg. Ding. Speed attribute, 1m/s, x1, 2m/s, x1 absorbed, speed plus 3m/s. In an instant, feeling the strengthening of her physical fitness, Li Fengmi lifted her eyes. This is his biggest gain since acquiring the system, apart from the spiritual master talent he just picked up from Luo Feng. Truly worthy of being two generals-level warriors. This attribute is given. Just 2 generals have such attributes given to them. What about the god of war? Planet level. Where are Hong and the god of thunder? Just thinking about this. Li Feng's growing desire is even stronger. Only by becoming strong enough can he be qualified to stand in front of these people. Otherwise, all of this is just a luxury hope. Soon, with the departure of Wu Tong and others, Li Feng and Luo Feng also went home together. Along the way, Li Feng was a bit flustered by Luo Feng's melancholic gaze. I said often, I know I'm handsome, but I really don't like men. After listening to Li Feng's words, Luo Feng rolled his eyes and said, I don't like men either. Li Feng smiled and patted Luo Feng's shoulder, saying, yes, yes, your heart only has Su Xin from your family. The 2 characters Su Xin are definitely a proper reference to Luo Feng's treasure. In an instant, Luo Feng, who was still green and astringent, blushed. For a while, I was stuttering and unable to speak. When both of them walked to the entrance of the community, Luo Feng finally stomped his foot and said, You've been tricked by Feng Ge again. Li Feng smiled on his own. When did you start playing tricks again? Luo Feng said, So, brother Feng, why do you keep hiding your strength? Li Feng turned his head and pursed his lips, saying, I don't have any hidden strength, Feng Zi, it was only a little over a month ago that I truly reached the threshold for becoming a quasi-warrior. Say it. Li Feng patted Luo Feng's shoulder and walked into his own door. Only Luo Feng remained stunned on the side. He, who grew up with Li Feng since childhood, knew that Li Feng did not walk on his own. So, is this the true genius? Luo Feng clenched his fist, and after a brief moment of confusion, his eyes became firm again. Wait for me, brother Feng. I will catch up with you. Wait until the evening. Li Feng made his own dinner to eat. There was no one else in his family, and his parents had already passed away when he was very young. In other words, Li Feng now is actually an orphan. At night, only this small house of only about 20 square meters accompanied Li Feng. A bedroom, a bathroom, and a small kitchen, that's all. However, Li Feng did not feel aggrieved. In the near future, he knew that light and hope were waving towards him. At this moment, it is quiet at night. Li Feng sat on the bed, his feet crossed, with the soles of his feet facing upwards and the palms of his hands facing upwards, with his waist and back straight. At this moment, he began his first induction according to the 5 hearts towards heaven method given by Jiang Nian. As my body gradually relaxes, I have consciously read through the classics of our ancestors for many years. Almost instantly, it calmed Li Feng's heart and there were no more ripples. And then with a breath, it poured into my body from the soles of my feet, palms of my palms, and the Baihui acupoint on my head. Then, it became increasingly intense. That breath began to surge. Originally, it was just a burst of anger, but later on, it seemed like a trickle, going crazy and squeezing into Li Feng's body. And in Li Feng's body, every cell began to greedily absorb that breath energy. Li Feng knows that this is genetic energy. I don't know if it's because I have been constantly researching and understanding the ancient teachings of the ancient sages of the Xia kingdom, or if this body has a good aptitude for cultivating genetic abilities. In Jiang Nian's explanation, the first time sensing gene energy was the most difficult. It takes at least a few hours for an average genius to sense the slightest bit of genetic energy. However, Li Feng successfully sensed the genetic energy at the moment of induction. And, this is not even a shred. That wild genetic energy, like chasing after himself, rushed into Jiang Nian's body eagerly. With this process, Li Feng's body also began to undergo constant changes. And Li Feng was even more generous, using the cultivation experience of the 5 hearts towards heaven method obtained from Jiang Nian and Yan Luo in the attribute space directly. 5 hearts towards heaven cultivation method cultivation experience X2, use up. At the moment of use, Li Feng felt two even stronger cosmic energies rushing crazily into his body. If someone else cultivates genetic energy, it's like a drip of water from a water pipe at that moment. Li Feng was like a high-pressure water gun. That genetic energy, as if free of money, rushed crazily into my body. At the same time, in the adjacent room. What's going on? Luo Feng woke up from his meditation. Just now, he even started practicing the 5 hearts towards heaven method earlier than Li Feng. After more than an hour, I finally sensed that trace of cosmic energy. We are absorbing it well. But I realized that the wandering cosmic energy around me seemed to have been directly snatched away by something. Suddenly, I couldn't sense it. What is this situation? Even though we have already sensed cosmic energy, can it suddenly be interrupted? Luo Feng scratched his head and looked towards the other side with some confusion. He felt that most of the cosmic energy was directly absorbed by another place. And that place is exactly the direction where Li Feng's family is located. Brother Feng. Luo Feng took a deep breath and closed his eyes again. I will catch up with you. Fortunately, with his first experience, Luo Feng quickly sensed cosmic energy again. Moreover, without guidance techniques, there is a limit to how the human body can absorb cosmic energy and convert it into genetic energy every day. Although most of the nearby cosmic energy was snatched away by Li Feng. But for Luo Feng, it doesn't have much impact. So, it was already half the night. Li Feng slowly opened his eyes and felt the nearly saturated genetic energy in his body. He took a deep breath and a smile appeared on his lips. I didn't expect that the first time I absorbed genetic energy, it took me 6 hours. Am I really a genius? Li Feng learned from Jiang Nian's explanation during the day that the first time an ordinary person absorbs cosmic energy, it usually takes up to half an hour to reach saturation. More than an hour can be considered a genius. And I actually absorbed it for 6 hours. On this side, Li Feng's mind moved and a system light curtain appeared in front of him. He couldn't wait to know how much strength he had gained by practicing the 5 hearts towards heaven method for the first time. End of this chapter. Chapter 5 Luo Feng. Feng Ge, I'm going to give you a big surprise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Luo Feng. Feng Ge, I have a big surprise for you. Name. Li Feng, Warrior Strength. Apprentice Level 2, Intermediate Warrior, Power. 3,600 kg Speed. 46 m/s Mental Power. Temporarily unavailable skills. Basic Body Method, 95%, Basic Knife Method, 89%. Attribute Space. Spiritual Mindfulness Master Talent. Apprentice Level 9 Level Peak, Advanced God of War Peak, this. At the first glance of his attributes, Li Feng widened his eyes and couldn't help but stand up. On my first practice, I actually gained 1,400 kilograms. Clenched his fist, feeling the much stronger force in his body than before, Li Feng took a deep breath and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. In the original work, even when Luo Feng first practiced genetic energy, his punching power reached 1,500.1800 kilograms. The growth is only 400.700 kilograms. Later, after awakening his spiritual and mental abilities, his fist strength suddenly increased to 3,109 kilograms. And I, just for the first time practicing, surprisingly reached such a level. So, what about awakening your spiritual and mental power again? On this side, Jiang Nian squinted his eyes and looked at the spiritual master talent picked up from his body in the attribute panel. Sitting cross-legged on the bed again. Li Feng's mind twitched. Ding! The spiritual master talent, apprentice level 9th level peak, has been successfully used. After the mechanical sound of the system, Li Feng only felt that a large amount of cosmic energy began to flood into his mind. As Li Feng focused his consciousness on his brain, he entered a completely unfamiliar world. This is a space completely shrouded in mist, and in the center of the world, a dark golden ball is like a star, constantly rotating while mist slowly escapes from this golden ball. And more cosmic energy than during the first practice of the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven method is absorbed into space and constantly transformed into spiritual and mental energy. Li Feng knew that this mysterious mist space was his own sea of consciousness, and that mist was his spiritual power. The golden ball was a solid spiritual power that only highly talented spiritual masters could possess. Once this golden ball is consumed, one can naturally become the spiritual master of the pinnacle of the advanced god of war, just like Luo Feng who provided assistance, that is, the invincible god of war. Over here. Li Feng lowered his head and felt the majestic spiritual power in the sea of consciousness. With a thought, he was surrounded by the bed, chairs, table, wardrobe. Everything inside the house is suspended. Even Li Feng himself on the bed floated in mid-air along with the bed. Li Feng, who felt the magic of the spiritual master for the first time, showcased his spiritual power in various ways. Despite manipulating so many things at the same time, Li Feng himself did not feel any reluctance. Li Feng's mouth curved with a smile. In the early stages of the Earth chapter, spiritual minders were undoubtedly more outstanding than warriors. At the same time, he was also curious about what level of strength he had reached after awakening his spiritual and intellectual abilities. And at this moment, Feng Ge. Feng Ge. As soon as it was slightly dawn, the door of Li Feng's house was knocked on directly. Li Feng spent the whole night practicing his genetic abilities, coupled with awakening his spiritual and mental abilities. So, even if you haven't slept all night, you are still in high spirits. Li Feng opened the door and looked at Luo Feng with an excited expression. He couldn't help but laugh and said, "Feng Ge, look at you like this. Did you successfully cultivate the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven technique?" Luo Feng nodded vigorously and waved his fist, saying, "Brother Feng, my strength has increased a lot. This time, I'm going to give you a big surprise." Li Feng squinted his eyes and watched as Luo Feng waved his fists casually, far exceeding the level of a junior warrior. In this moment, something was already understood. In the original work, Luo Feng awakened his spiritual power after his first practice of genetic energy in the detention center. It seems that after obtaining the 5 Hearts Towards Heaven method in advance, let Luo Feng also awaken his spiritual and mental abilities in advance. However, Li Feng looked up and saw the excited Luo Feng, but a wicked interest rose in his heart. Bullying the still immature Lord Luo of the city is also very interesting. "Feng Ge, my strength has also increased a lot." Luo Feng was taken aback for a moment, then nodded naturally and said, "Ordinary people can only sense the energy of the universe for a year and a half. However, with your talent, Feng Ge, you can successfully cultivate the genetic energy overnight, which is absolutely normal. However, my strength this time has not grown even a little bit." It seems that he awakened his spiritual and intellectual abilities, giving Luo Feng great confidence. After all, from childhood to adulthood, his and Li Feng's strength was between bourgeons. Since Li Feng obtained the system, he immediately left Luo Feng behind. Although Luo Feng is not a jealous villain, he has been holding his breath to catch up with Li Feng. The smile on Li Feng's face was even more pronounced. So, practice. Luo Feng's head was like pouring garlic. Practice. Soon. The two of them rushed directly to the Extreme Martial Arts School. At the Extreme Martial Arts School, there are also many morning exercise students who have started training. After saying hello, the two people with considerable fame in the martial arts school, I rushed all the way to the martial arts training hall of the senior students on the 3rd floor. After all, the two have not yet passed the quasi-warrior assessment and are not yet qualified to enter the 4th floor. Perhaps it's because we arrived early, there are currently no other senior students here. Luo Feng first arrived at the boxing test machine, held his breath and focused, and punched hard. The speed is so fast that it even vaguely carries remnants. In the blink of an eye, Luo Feng punched the target directly. Bang! With a loud bang. Dee-dee, dee-dee. Dee-dee. The testing machine also followed with a rapid sound. Soon, the specific values also appeared on the screen. Luo Feng hurriedly looked at the screen of the testing machine, and then his face had an uncontrollable smile on it, clenching his fist tightly. Fist power .3319 kg. Although he awakened his spiritual and mental abilities in advance, with the help of Li Feng, Luo Feng's training intensity was even higher than before. So, their strength is actually stronger than when they awakened their spiritual consciousness. Now, with the use of his mental and mental abilities, Luo Feng's strength may have reached the level of a junior general. Li Feng smiled and looked at Luo Feng, feeling genuinely happy that he had arrived. Sure. Feng Ge. Over 3,000 kilograms, it's already the strength of an intermediate warrior. And Luo Feng also had a smile on his face, looking at Li Feng with a smile. How about Feng Ge? Maybe my strength has surpassed yours now. Li Feng smiled and patted Luo Feng's shoulder, saying, that's not necessarily true, Feng Ge. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Exciting Jiang Nian, Luo Feng is a monster-level genius. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Fist power 6,100 kilograms. The demons among the demons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Fist power 6,100 kilograms. The demons among the demons. Impossible. Is that impossible? How could this be possible? As he spoke these words, Jiang Nian's breath became heavy. When fighting against beast generals in the wilderness, Jiang Nian never felt so nervous. Even speaking became trembling. And on the side, Luo Feng also widened his eyes and opened his mouth, looking incredulously at Jiang Nian in front of him. Feng, you're too. It's not that the two of them have poor composure, but rather that Li Feng's punching power at this moment is too exaggerated. Fist power .6101 kg. And Li Chen also had a smile on his face. On the light screen of the system in front of him, Li Chen's current strength was also demonstrated. Name: Li Feng, Warrior Strength. Apprentice Level 3, Advanced Warrior, Strength. 6,100 kg Speed. 87 m/s Mental Power. 19,000 kg, Intermediate General, Skills. Basic Body Method, 95%, Basic Knife Method, 89%. Attribute Space. Currently unavailable, the warrior's strength has reached the Advanced Warrior level. And the Spiritual Mind Master, due to the fact that before the planetary level, martial artists were generally 2 levels stronger than their opponents, surprisingly reached the level of a medium general. This is Li Chen's current strength. At this moment, Jiang Nian and Luo Feng looked at Li Feng as if they were looking at a monster. Yesterday, when you were in the martial arts school, your punching power was only 1,600 kilograms. In just one short night, it was only 6,000 kilograms. Too exaggerated. Too exaggerated. Is it because the punching test machine is broken? The warrior at the level of Jiang Nian Tang's general is so excited that his speech becomes incoherent. Even to confirm if the punching test machine is broken, Jiang Nian even went and punched himself. However, later on, the 12,302 kilograms punch proved that the punch testing machine was functioning properly. Jiang Nian stumbled and almost didn't stand firm. His gaze towards Li Feng was almost fanatical. Ha ha ha. All right. Jiang Nian crossed his waist and burst out laughing. Our old Jiang had a big day today. It's just a genius like Luo Feng. How could he even come across a monster like you? No, it should be a demon. Hee, the first time I practiced genetic energy, I grew more than 4,000 kilograms. I haven't even heard of such a situation. Such talent, such talent. Hee, it's done. Hee, it's done. Back. To further test Li Feng's strength. Jiang Nian also pulled Li Feng to test his speed and neural response. Later, the results given by Li Feng were still so shocking. Speed 0.87.2 m/s. Neurological response. Full score for advanced warriors. Jiang Nian was already so excited that he could only chuckle foolishly. And Luo Feng widened his eyes, suddenly not knowing what to say. Combined with awakening, I gained over 2,000 kilograms of power in total. Where is Li Feng? From the original 1,600 kilograms to the current 6,100 kilograms. Improved by over 4,000 kilograms. Originally, Luo Feng thought that his current strength, not only stronger than Li Feng, could at least be comparable. But I didn't expect that after practicing genetic energy, I would actually become further and further away. Looking at Luo Feng's expression of not knowing what to say, Li Feng smiled and said, "What's wrong, Feng Ge? You've been hit. This is not the one I know about you." After listening to Li Feng's words, Luo Feng smiled and punched him, saying, "Don't worry, brother Feng, I'm not that fragile. Take a deep breath." Luo Feng's expression quickly became serious. "Feng, don't worry, no matter how strong you are, I will definitely catch up. Absolutely. I will never give up. We brothers will definitely become top-tier powerhouses." Li Feng's face also became solemn, and he reached out his fist to touch Luo Feng. "That's a deal. The two of us must stand together at the top of the mountain." Luo Feng nodded desperately and said, "It's a deal." The gears of fate began to turn, and Li Feng knew that Luo Feng, who had awakened his talent as a spiritual master, was about to show his initial strength. Although it may seem like Luo Feng is just a pursuer compared to him now, soon he will soar to the sky. Not just standing at the pinnacle of the earth, but in the future he will stand at the pinnacle of the entire universe, even the entire multiverse. And Li Feng lowered his head, clenched his fist, and looked at the boundless starry sky with an unprecedented firmness. "Over here." After a while, Jiang Nian finally recovered. He quickly grabbed Li Feng and Luo Feng, afraid that if he let go, Luo Feng and Li Feng would run away. Simply put, Jiang Nian, with your talent, you can definitely match the highest level genius contract in our extreme martial arts school. I don't know the specific terms, but they are definitely incredibly generous. And Luo Feng, you're not bad either. The conditions that our extreme martial arts school can offer will definitely not be worse than any other outside. Are you two willing to join my extreme martial arts school in advance?" When Jiang Nian said these words, he looked at Luo Feng, especially Li Feng, and it was almost like pulling a thread. I almost begged two people to agree. On this side, Luo Feng and Li Feng looked at each other and nodded at the same time. "Instructor, we are willing." "Haha. All right, all right." Jiang Nian laughed and said, "I, the small owner of the extreme martial arts school in Yian District, am not qualified to recruit you two monster geniuses. I need to quickly contact the headquarters, but I can't let you two little monsters run away." "Say it." Without any hesitation, Jiang Nian took out his phone and made a video call. Soon. On the screen, an elderly man with gray hair appeared and saw Jiang Nian's face turn red with an uncontrollable smile on his lips. He calmly smiled and said, "Jiang Nian, did you break through? Or did you find the Lord-level monster material? Are you so happy?" Jiang Nian shook his head and forcefully suppressed his excited voice, "By Bo. We have two geniuses in Yian District, not monster-level warriors." A first-time cultivation of genetic original energy increased the fist power by more than 2,000 kilograms, with a speed of 60 m/s, and a neural response test. Intermediate warriors are excellent. Absolutely genius. The old man named Bai Bo was taken aback and said, I increased my fist power by over 2,000 kilograms during my first practice. How old is he this year? Jiang Nian quickly said, his name is Luo Feng, he has just turned 18. What? I'm only 18 years old. Bai Bo couldn't hold his breath anymore and suddenly stood up, shouting, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and bring someone to the headquarters. Jiang Nian smiled and then turned his gaze to Li Feng on the side, saying, Bai Bo, don't worry, isn't there another one here? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Extreme Martial Arts School headquarters of the Fried Pot, Zhuge Tao personally came here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Extreme Martial Arts School headquarters of the Fried Pot, Zhuge Tao personally comes. Oh. There's another one. Bai Bo looked up with a smile on his face and said, Jiang Nian, what kind of bad luck did you have? Two geniuses appeared at the Extreme Martial Arts School in Yian District at the same time. Hurry up, what about the other one's strength? It's impossible for him to be on the same level as Luo Feng, right? After speaking, Bai Bo himself felt it was impossible and shook his head and smiled. After all, in his opinion, a genius like Luo Feng rarely appears in the entire Jiangnan district every year. The probability of two appearing at the same time is almost like a pie falling from the sky. At the moment, Bai Bo waved his hand and said directly, it's possible to be a bit lower than Luo Feng. As long as the headquarters passes the assessment, your contribution points cannot be missed. But Jiang Nian chuckled and said, Bai Bo. Is it possible that Li Feng is a more genius demon than Luo Feng? What? After speaking, Bai Bo stumbled and his face instantly turned red. Even more genius than Luo Feng. Jiang Nian, when did you learn to speak big? How could that be? A genius like Luo Feng, the entire Jiangnan district. Before Bai Bo could finish speaking, Jiang Nian squinted his eyes and spoke out Li Feng's strength in detail. Fist power is 6,100 kilograms, which has increased by 4,500 kilograms compared to the first time he cultivated his genetic ability. His speed is 87 meters per second, and he scored full marks in a neural reaction test for a high-level warrior. Have you ever seen such a demon, Bai Bo? Bai Bo was stunned for several seconds at the end of the screen, then his expression changed. Pointing at Jiang Nian, he angrily cursed, Jiang Nian, you're here to find me happy, aren't you? This is the first time you've increased your fist power by 4,500 kilograms. Are you treating me like a monkey? However, halfway through, I looked at Jiang Nian's serious expression in front of me. Bai Bo couldn't hold on any longer, and his whole body visibly trembled. Jiang Nian, is that Li Feng you're talking about true? Jiang Nian smiled and pulled Li Feng to the screen, saying, do you see it? It's like a fake exchange. Like Luo Feng, he is only 18 years old this year. Pop it. On the other end of the phone, accompanied by a strange noise, the screen suddenly turned black. Then the next second, Bai Bo hit again. At this moment, his face was already flushed and he shouted straight at Jiang Nian, Jiang Nian. Don't bring anyone to the headquarters. I'll go notify the boss now. The boss will personally send someone to assess Li Feng. You have to keep an eye on me. If someone from the Thunderbolt Martial Arts School or other forces walks away, I'll show you a good look. Bai Bo calls quickly and hangs up quickly. Soon. Luo Feng and Li Feng exchanged a glance. Looking at this battle, Luo Feng and Li Feng exchanged a glance. Don't worry, they also know that their talent seems to have already alarmed the people above. Instructor Jiang, after the strength test, will Luo Feng and I go back first? Jiang Nian squinted his eyes and quietly closed the door of the martial arts training hall. Rubbing his hands, his fiery gaze was vivid as if a fool had seen a peerless beauty on a tram. The warrior at the level of a grand general and the owner of the Extreme Martial Arts School in Yian District, his smile on his face is as lewd as it is now. He, Li Feng, Luo Feng, you heard it just now. We have issued a death order from above. You two little geniuses, we must never let you go. Let's go upstairs with your Jiang brother. We have everything there. Tonight, you two will suffer in the martial arts school for a night. Luo Feng and Li Feng looked at each other helplessly, listening to Jiang Nian's tone. They both knew that they couldn't leave today no matter what. On this side, Li Feng doesn't have much to say. With a sigh, Luo Feng raised his hand and said, Instructor, you have to make me call my family first, otherwise if I don't go home all night, my family will have to worry. Jiang Nian nodded repeatedly, naturally responding to Luo Feng's demands. This is certain, this is certain. Later, Jiang Nian and the two of them went up to the fourth floor, which only instructors could go to. Apart from letting the two of them leave, the demands for them can be said to be met with every request, almost as if they were directly arched together. Meanwhile, within the headquarters of the Extreme Martial Arts Academy in Jiangnan Base City. Supervisor Bai Bo strode into a 3-story detached villa. On the way to the second floor, before entering the room, there was a burst of shouting. Here, a middle-aged man in a black tang suit lifted his head with a faint smile on his lips and said, Old Bai, what's wrong? It's been years since you've been so panicked. Without any hesitation, Bai Bo spoke directly and said, Supervisor, there are 2 monster-level geniuses in the branch of Ian District in Yangzhou City, and one of them is a demon among the demons. One of them increased their punching power by over 2,000 kilograms during their first practice of cultivating their genetic abilities, while the other gained a whopping 4,500 kilograms, reaching the level of a senior warrior. And both of them are only 18 years old this year. Oh. Upon hearing this, the supervisor's originally calm expression was instantly shocked. Are you sure he's only 18 years old, and during his first practice, he increased his punching power by 4,500 kilograms? Bai Bo nodded fiercely and said, It's absolutely true. I have confirmed with that kid Jiang Nian multiple times. In an instant, the supervisor was overjoyed and said, Okay. Okay. I didn't expect such a demon genius to appear in my Jiangnan base city. The first time I practiced, I increased my punching power by 4,500 kilograms. Even those legislators. This kid will definitely become a strong warrior among the gods of war in the future. Maybe. He can still take that last step. Say it. The supervisor on this side didn't hesitate at all and immediately said, Bai Bo, you should send someone immediately to bring these 2 boys back to headquarters. No. I'll personally lead someone there. So. The next morning, it was not even dawn. Li Feng and Luo Feng, who were resting, were awakened by someone. These 2 young people are Luo Feng and Li Feng, right? Who is Li Feng? Li Feng and Luo Feng looked over and saw a middle-aged man in black tang attire, surrounded by a group of people, who had already arrived in front of them. And Jiang Nian was also among them. However, as the owner of the Extreme Martial Arts School in Ian District, he can only stand at the very end. Not yet to be introduced by Jiang Nian. The middle-aged man in black tang attire introduced himself with a smile and said, I am Zhuge Tao, the head of the headquarters of our Extreme Martial Arts School in Jiangnan District. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. A Fist That Shots Everyone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. A Fist That Shots Everyone. Over here. Luo Feng and Li Feng exchanged a glance and both spoke in the same voice, Supervisor. Li Feng squinted his eyes and looked at Zhuge Tao, who was later jokingly referred to as an angel investor. Naturally, I understand why the latter came. However, he was curious about what kind of contract this angel investor would give him, given his current age and demonstrated strength. Zhuge Tao, dressed in tang attire, nodded slightly and looked directly at Bai Bo on the side, saying, Old Bai, let's start straight away. By bow is not ambiguous either. The large group of people on site, except for Luo Feng and Li Feng, are all big shots who can shake the entire Jiang Nian city with a stomp of their feet. Under their witness. Quickly, all the testing machines for fist power, speed, and neural response were turned on. In order to ensure absolute fairness, there is also a dedicated person responsible for checking the accuracy of the instruments. Supervisor, no problem. After receiving a positive response, Zhuge Tao nodded and said, "Okay, it's not too late. Let's start directly." Bai Bo nodded and looked directly at Luo Feng and Li Feng, with a warm smile on his lips. "Two young men, who will start first?" Luo Feng took a deep breath and took a step forward. "Let me start." Luo Feng understood that Li Feng's strength now far exceeded his own. Being one step ahead of Li Feng can help him reduce the pressure and demonstrate his true strength. Li Feng took a slight step back and shouted directly at Luo Feng, "Feng Ge, don't be nervous, show your own strength." Although Li Feng knew that with Luo Feng's personality, the word tension simply did not exist in front of him. But due to their years of brotherhood, they couldn't help but shout out. He hopes that Luo Feng can become stronger and even stronger than in the original work. The stronger Luo Feng is, the greater his motivation will be. Upon hearing Li Feng's words, Luo Feng turned his head and nodded at him, "Brother Feng, don't worry." Later, in the witness of everyone, Luo Feng was the first to come to the boxing test machine. After the whole person relaxes, the whole body instantly tightens. The speed is as fast as an arrow leaving the string. Bang! That fist broke through the air, even carrying an air burst, hitting the target heavily. Soon. The display screen of the testing machine shows the punching power of Luo Feng. 3320 kg. It is obvious that Luo Feng was not affected in any way, but instead performed even better than yesterday. Not bad. Not bad. Even Zhuge Tao's face now carried a smile. The other onlookers also nodded repeatedly. Especially Jiang Nian clenched his fist and couldn't help but shout, "Luo Feng, you did a great job." Soon. The test results for speed and neural response have also been released. Speed .60m/s. Neurological response. Excellent intermediate warrior. After finishing all of this, Luo Feng couldn't help but clench his fists and feel slightly excited. Jiang Nian beside him also breathed a sigh of relief. "It's okay, it's okay." And only Li Feng on the side, with a smile on his face. It can be said that in this world, Li Feng even knows him better than Luo Feng himself. He understood that the person in front of him, Luo Feng, could never be someone who could not perform his normal abilities at a critical moment. On the contrary, the greater the pressure, the more capable Luo Feng can exert his strength. At this moment, even Zhuge Tao nodded with a smile and looked at Luo Feng with a hint of appreciation in his eyes. "The fist power is better than what I said yesterday, and the speed and neural response are also normal." "Very good. Say it." Zhuge Tao instinctively looked at Li Feng beside him and said, "Young man, I heard that you and Luo Feng were both brothers who grew up together in the same community. I'm looking forward to it, both of you, giving your full potential. Let's get started." Li Feng nodded and slowly stepped out of the queue. Luo Feng took a few steps back and couldn't help but cheer for Li Feng, saying, "Brother Feng, come on." Jiang Nian also whispered, "Li Feng, don't be nervous, just give it your full potential." Li Feng didn't say anything, and he wouldn't just hold his right fist and lift it over his head. On the side. Everyone, including Zhuge Tao, stared closely at Li Feng. Just now, Luo Feng's performance has already amazed them. But they know that Li Feng, who is the same age as Luo Feng, is a genius even more monster than Luo Feng. The demons among the demons. Today, they all hope to witness their Jiangnan city produce such a shocking letter, even the genius of the whole world. At this moment, Li Feng's heart was as calm as water. All eyes were fixed on the punch-testing machine in front of them. He, who has studied the classics of his predecessors for many years, has already reached the state of being calm in times of change. After putting aside all the distractions in my mind, the instinct of countless cultivation instantly mobilized all the strength in his body. All concentrated behind the right hand. Just give it a punch. Although it was just a punch, yet bang. 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 Under a loud bang, there were two muffled sounds. Of course, the last two muffled noises were so short that it was almost imperceptible from the first loud noise. So much so that most of the people present did not even notice. Drip. With the rapid sound of the punching test machine, a number that stunned everyone on site appeared on the display screen. Fist power 0.12300 kg. This is impossible. War. The power of a general-level warrior. When this number was displayed, everyone couldn't help but shout out. These influential figures in Jiang Nian city who call for wind and rain on weekdays can't help but burst out foul language. You know. The fist power of a novice general is only 8,000 kilograms. But Li Feng unleashed a punch of 12,300 kilograms. That is to say, Li Feng's boxing ability is now comparable to that of a senior junior general. An 18-year-old junior general. Just thinking about it, everyone feels outrageous. Kid. No, Li Feng. Zhuge Tao was even more excited as he approached and grabbed Li Feng's hands, saying, You have broken through to a junior general. But Li Feng just shook his head slowly and said, No, my punching power is actually only at the level of a senior warrior. After hearing Li Feng's answer, Zhuge Tao was taken aback and said, Why are you? But before he could finish speaking, he suddenly realized, dark energy. You learned the power boost technique in advance. Who taught you? Zhuge Tao widened his eyes, his mind now filled with the punch that Li Feng had just swung. He didn't pay attention just now. Looking back now, it's clear that the effect can only be achieved after cultivating dark energy. Faced with Zhuge Tao's inquiry, the rest of the group also suddenly realized, and their gaze towards Li Feng became even more intense. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Your contract is no longer something I can decide on. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Your contract is no longer something I can decide on. Dark energy is actually not unfamiliar to many people present. Among the secrets available for cultivation on Earth today, many have methods for cultivating dark energy. The Nine Thunder Knife among them is an absolute representative. This martial arts technique was created by the second speaker, the founder of the Thunderbolt Martial Arts School, Thor God. Legend has it that when practicing to the 9th level, one can unleash an additional 9 levels of dark energy, unleashing 7 times the power of their original body. In their eyes, Li Feng's recent use of the dark power exerted by his fists was actually quite immature. But this it's already quite outrageous. With twice the strength of the body, it can already rival the second level of the 9 Thunder Knife. And the person who controls him is only an 18-year-old boy. Everyone present recalled what they were doing when they were 18 years old. Not to mention someone like Li Feng, who has reached the level of a senior warrior and has mastered a boxing technique that doubles his physical strength. Being able to reach the level of a quasi-warrior is enough to make them feel proud and praised by outsiders as a little genius. Sure enough, people die more than people, and comparing goods with goods means throwing them away. Compared to Li Feng, who is shining brightly at this moment, these big shots always feel like they have lived their entire lives in the belly of a dog. Little did they know that Li Feng's next sentence drove them even more crazy. Under the hot gaze of the crowd, he leaned slightly towards Zhuge Tao and said, Master, this punch was slowly developed by me through my daily practice of boxing. I haven't practiced any secrets. Li Feng did not panic. In fact, due to diligent cultivation and inspiration derived from the classics of our ancestors, Whether it's practicing body techniques or martial arts, Li Feng has always achieved twice the result with half the effort. Moreover, after becoming a spiritual thinker, one has stronger control over their body. So the breakthrough in martial arts has become a natural occurrence. Li Feng did not deliberately study, but in the moment he punched for the first time today, he naturally punched. At the same time, when Li Feng swung this punch, his attributes had quietly changed. Name: Li Feng, Warrior Strength. Apprentice Level 3, Advanced Warrior, Power. 6,150 kg Speed. 89 m/s Mental Power. 19,100 kg, Intermediate General, Skills. Basic Body Method, 99%, Basic Knife Method, 99%, Specialized Fist Method, 1%. Power Level 2. Attribute Space. Currently unavailable, Zhuge Tao was slightly stunned and instinctively wanted to refute, how could this be? You kid, don't. But halfway through, it suddenly stopped. Because he suddenly remembered that Li Feng's parents had both died since childhood, but he was just an orphan living in a low-rent house. If Li Feng comes from a noble family or is a descendant of a high-level warrior, perhaps there is still a chance to come into contact with these things in advance. But as an orphan, it's not easy to support oneself. Where would there be any chance to come into contact with these things? Zhuge Tao's mouth twitched slightly, wanting to say something, but as he spoke, he realized he couldn't say anything. He gave Li Feng a deep glance, as if seeing the latter's bright future. He patted Li Feng's shoulder and didn't ask any more questions. He just spoke word by word, very solemnly, Li Feng, work hard. A genius like you is destined to become the pillar of human warriors. Our human future may be in the hands of people like you. Zhuge Tao's extremely high standard evaluation made everyone present couldn't help but open their mouths wide. They couldn't say a word for half a day. Only behind Li Feng, Luo Feng quietly looked at his tall back. At this moment, he felt that the distance between his childhood friend and himself suddenly became distant. He thought that at the age of 18, he had become an intermediate martial artist and possessed spiritual and mental abilities, which made him enough to stand by Li Feng's side. But now Luo Feng took a deep breath and silently lowered his head. This iron-like reality tells him that despite his efforts, he still needs to work harder. Soon. Without any hesitation, Zhuge Tao looked at Li Feng and Luo Feng and said decisively, Li Feng and Luo Feng, are you two willing to join my extreme martial arts school now? Jiang Nian should have told both of you all the conditions, right? Over here. After Zhuge Tao finished speaking, Jiang Nian anxiously said, Li Feng and Luo Feng, this is a huge opportunity for both of you. When he was at the martial arts school yesterday, he had already told the two people all the conditions. Luo Feng was a bit stunned, so much so that after Li Feng reminded him, he finally realized. Supervisor, instructor, I am willing. Luo Feng did not hesitate at all. And Li Feng also nodded and said, I'm the same. Zhuge Tao chuckled and said, okay. Okay. According to our previous rules, Luo Feng, you can choose a villa to live in Yangzhou City or our Jiangnan City headquarters. You can also obtain 20 million yuan in startup funds, with a price not exceeding 50 million yuan for body techniques, guidance techniques, and secret techniques of attack. Say it. Zhuge Tao paused for a moment, then instinctively looked at Li Feng and Luo Feng, paused for a moment, and then said directly, however, in Jiangnan City, we finally have a genius like you. I am in charge here, and you can choose any secret script for body methods, guidance techniques, and attack techniques that cost no more than 200 million yuan. I'll pay for everything. This. Luo Feng widened his eyes and said, Supervisor I. Luo Feng turned his head to look at Li Feng. Although he didn't understand the reason behind it, he vaguely knew from Zhuge Tao's gaze just now. Later on, Zhuge Tao's promise may have been influenced by Li Feng beside him. Li Fengmi opened her eyes and looked somewhat surprised. In the original work, although there was not much difference in strength between Luo Feng and the present, Zhuge Tao also provided assistance to Luo Feng. But this intensity is obviously not as strong as it is now. It is obvious that Zhuge Tao only made such changes. Perhaps it has a certain relationship with oneself. However, he still nodded with a smile and said, "Fengzi, you deserve everything on your own." On this side, Luo Feng took a deep breath but did not hesitate. He was not a person who was hesitant, but silently remembered the relationship between Li Feng and Zhuge Tao in his heart. He gratefully said, "Thank you." Soon, Luo Feng signed the contract handed over by the staff of the martial arts school. Later, Zhuge Tao turned his gaze directly to Li Feng and said, "As for you, Li Feng, regarding your contract, perhaps it's not something I can decide now." End of this chapter.